Sufa Allah. Assalam, assalam, assalam. Latif al Sufian Louis. Allah Sufa. We haven't heard of our sacred tones of Allah Sufa and Sufa Allah, but we have heard it in different expressions. I think one of the most captivating expressions is that who is the original man? Sufa Allah would be that expression. You might know him as the owner of the universe, the cream of the crop, the master of the universe.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And so what we mean by original is the first. The first. This is very key for all Asiatics. Because to be an Asiatic, it starts here. It starts with who made you. And so you must know as an Asiatic who created you. So this is why we have Sufa 1. As the opening. So when we open in the Al-Fatiha, we're talking about Allah Fatiha. Another expression of that is the Father. So if we deepen into our lessons of the mastery of self, we know the lesser spirits is different than the highest. So when we talking about, when you hear about from on high, you're talking Sufa Allah al Fatiha. Those are sacred tones. Other expressions is Enuma Elish. These tones predate the beginnings of the Bible. So we're talking about before a book was written. And before that book was written, it was called Sufa Allah. They like to say the mother book of all books.
Right on. Yeah.
Pulling down on the grandiose night of power. It's the reason why night is not favor over day when it comes to self-study. So when it comes to self-study, we don't self study without Allah.
That's right.
There is no study of self without the study of Allah. And how you study self and Allah is called Sufa. We're going to get into some grandiose. Sufa means more than what you may have never known. This word was in the beginning with Allah. So this is older than all expressions. Sufa is the name for the nameless. See, and through the Sufa is how we get the divine name of the deity. It's a reason why it's called Sufa. If we begin to notice, it starts with the letter S. Oh, I wish this thing had a little paint. Ooh. But we're going to do a little rendezvous. The S was at the beginning with Allah. Now, before we get into the deeper expressions of the S, this letter S was converted in later times to a half of an S. And the shape of a half of an S, if I could just erase it like I was on notepad, it would like it would look like a J.
Yeah.
See, this is where you get the conjuring up of the name. Right following the J is the S. So you know, if we was spelling in old times, it would look similar to this. So the sorcerers knew the power of this S and started playing with the letters and the spelling. So we know Jesus as a well-known, powerful name. And this is throughout texts and historical texts. But we didn't know where that word came out of. So I'm giving us the beginning of where the word Jesus come out of. That word that was in the beginning was the word Sufa. The word and the syllable Su represents silence. The home of the dark. Where all things come out of. Thoughts come out of this. Words come out of this. Deeds come out of this. For this is the Sufa. And we see the first name of the Sufa is the Fa. Ha. Okay, now, so it's a reason why the Fa is in Su.
Yeah, that's right.
See, so you're doing something when you're saying Sufa.
Come on and make
you opening up the silence. Su is the silence. Fa is the opening. And inside of this opening is called the Triune self. This is what Fa, Ti, Ha represents. The Triune Allah. This is very important. So if we want to know how we came into being, this is how self came into being. From the Sufa. And just like a child that's planted in the womb, it takes necessary steps for it to grow in the womb, to come out of the womb. So for you to come to being, before you even placed in a womb, to come out of a womb, we talking pre-creation. Pre-physical. This is non-physical what we're speaking on right here. This is purely self before taking any units of itself. This is complete unity known as the original man. Spirit man. Sufian. So this is how you come to be every day that you wake up. So we getting a close example of how we are alive today and where we come from in order to be alive today. Because out of this Fatiha, which is the triune self, this is where you get to study self. So we're going to go to our Sufa. Our Sufa, this is how we start studying self. Number 14, if you were ask me what to study, I would say not books. I would say not people. I would say not what's on TV. Not anything in the world, but to study yourselves, plural. So you can't be bored. You got plenty to do.
Beautiful.
So when you have studied them, and then will ask me what to study next, I will reply yourselves. So these selves that we need to study comes out of the Fatiha. So we're going to understand what is the triune self. The word tri means three. The word means one. So we saying triune means three as one. Three as one is how you got here. These three, for subject matter, for us to study self, we're going to name them by self. From the lowest to the highest.
Right on.
So the triune self, from the lowest to the highest, starting at number 3, will be the lower self. Number 2 would be the higher self. And number 1 would be the greater self. You have these 3 right now, if you can hear my voice. So now when it's saying study yourselves, this is what it's speaking on. So we're going to get a little meaning behind these 3 understandings of the one. So we're going to start with the lower self. Would you like to read the first 3 from 7 to 9?
I would love to. 11. The lower self.
Number 7.
No, number 7. Excuse me. The lower self. The cardinal self. The body of desires. Plural. Is a reflection of higher self distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. 8. The lower self is an illusion and will pass away. The higher self is Allah in man and will not pass away. Keep going.
Number 9. And stop at 9.
The higher self is the embodiment of truth. The lower self is truth reversed, and so is falsehood manifest.
The higher self is justice, mercy, love, and right. The lower self is what the higher self is not. The lower self breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murders, theft, and everything that harms. The higher self is mother of the virtues and the harmonies of life. The lower self is rich in promises, but poor in blessings and peace. It offers pleasure, joy, and satisfying gain, but gives unrest, misery, and death.
That's what the lower self is. Now you have a meaning of it.
Yeah.
We see that it's the opposite of your higher self.
Yeah.
And for things to manifest, it needs to manifest into the lower self. Do we see that connection?
Yeah.
Manifest means visibility.
Yeah, visibility.
And the lower self is visible as your flesh.
That's right.
But that flesh is truth reversed.
Yeah.
The lower self is what the higher self is not.
That's right.
See, so we get into the study of yourself, ourselves. One is the opposite of the other.
Yeah.
So we got to start right there.
Mm.
But they in unity with one another.
That's right.
This is called the unity of life. This is why it's called Triune Allah. We talk about the unity of life.
Yeah.
The unity of how man, how spirit man came to be is through the unity of the higher self and the lower self.
Mm-hmm.
We see the lower self is an illusion.
Yeah.
This is big for self
Mm-hmm.
to know.
Mm-hmm.
And the lower self will pass away.
And we see this without doubt.
Without doubt. Now, why is the higher self not the lower self? The higher self will not pass away.
That's right.
So it don't matter what false claims have
Yeah.
been entered in any books
Oh, that's
that
right.
we've read.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This one thing we want to know and believe, that the higher self will not pass away.
Will not pass away.
Now, why will the higher self not pass away and the lower self will pass away? Something must be in the higher self that's not in the lower self.
That's correct.
So the higher self is the greater self in man.
That's right.
This is why it cannot pass away, because the greater self is in the higher self.
Yeah.
This is big right here.
Yeah.
This hasn't been done for us. This to give you self-mastery and self-rulership.
Yeah. Over self.
Over self by self.
Mm-hmm.
See, so now we have the triune self a little bit more understood. So everything that you see here is now filtered through one of these three systems. Your goal is to get from 3 to 1.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Before the lower self passes away.
That's correct.
So this is why you calibrate it with a 5-limb system. Because 2 is over 3.
Mm-hmm.
You got 2 cells greater than the third, the lower cell. 2 over 3, that gives you the 5, or the pi. So when we're talking about understanding, how do we start understanding this complexity, they break it down and simplify it and reduce it to such a simplicity that self can understand. And so that's what we hope to do in faith by the end of this lesson, that you will have a thorough understanding in a simplified form.
Mm-hmm.
So these 2 cells is what produces the unity of life.
Right.
Life ain't happening out there.
Mm-hmm.
Life is happening between your lower self and your higher self.
Yeah.
This is the dynamic.
Yeah.
This is the socialization. This is the real sociality. Self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
And so now let's get into a little of the higher self. The higher self is the human spirit clothed with mind, made in the form of Allah. See, here we come, y'all. Allah is your divine name that you always heard about. That you had a second name or a double in the universe or something like that, a twin. You got a twin everywhere. Have you heard that somewhere or anything in between that expression? It's talking about your higher self is made in the form of the greater self. See, so you're not the name of your lower self. The name you have as your incarnation is the name of your lower self. But who you truly are is the divine name of Allah. For this who made you, for this who created you, and Allah is self. So this is what makes the higher self so unique. That it's spiritual and it's mental.
Yeah.
The spiritual and the mental is made in the form of Allah. What we know, man cannot die. Spirit man is one with Allah. So now when we're talking about why are we opening up? This is opening of the silence. See, your mouth just don't open. Before your mouth open, your mind done open. And before your mind done open, your heart done open. This is called the triune self. Mouth, mind, heart. 3, 2, 1. If we would have learned that this was the A, B, C, greater self, higher self, lower self, 1, 2, 3, the numbers of order, of right order, of how to conduct yourself from 1 to 2 to 3. From your greater self, you deal with people. From your higher self, you deal with people. The lower self is an illusion. We don't have to get caught up in another's illusion. You have your own illusion you got to get over. We all got a lower self.
That's right.
So that means we all got an illusion we're dealing with.
That's right.
We got to give it some thought. So this is why it's called the opening. This is the opening of the Sufa. The word we use in English, silence, would be this word Sufa. So now this was the culture and the way of the people on the land of Asia, Asia, misnamed America by black and white people.
Yeah.
We don't identify with black and white. Those not our realities. Our realities is lower self, higher self, greater self. This is what's called the pyramid. before the pyramid was ever established or built. So this is why it's so important, because this is who you are. Your divine name is Allah. To wake you up, you need to speak to yourself. Everything you wanted, like Aladdin, a genie in a bottle. That genie they was talking about in a bottle is the higher self and the greater self within the lower self that can create everything you need from the spiritual and mental, and then they come and manifest into the lower self. Easy as 1, 2, 3. This is how our culture was. And this is what's being reestablished in plain sight. Before a white man or a black man was thought of, Sufa Allah already existed. Without Sufa Allah, the concept of nothing would not exist. So we can see our flesh. That's called a thing. All things that can be seen by the human eyes are naught and will pass away. But the things that are eternal cannot be seen with human eyes. They are composed of a substance finer than the human eye, that only the eyes of the mind can see. And everything of the lower self consists of this substance from the plane of the mind. Every form you see down here came from the mind. See, but before you had a mind, it had to be created. Before you had a flesh, it had to be made. So who made you goes to your flesh. Who created you goes to your mind. And both of those is Allah. Allah is the first. Before you was born, Allah was the first. Before you turned 1, Allah was the first. Before you had your beginning in the flesh, Allah was, is, and evermore the beginning. Your flesh couldn't have a beginning if it wasn't a beginning. So from a beginning, we go into the beginning, where nothing come before. This is the beginning point from where all lesser law or lesser falsehoods manifest, meaning come into visibility where people can see. This divine self called Allah that is in the flesh is the most magnificent thing to ever exist. It's not the body, nor is not the mind, nor is it the spirit. Those are the triune parts of self. This is how self makes, or this is how self becomes self-known. For you to become self-known, you made yourself flesh. Gonna get into some. This stuff should be easy to remember right here. This is simplifying it. We have self. Self is representing the higher self and the greater self. Now, what in the meaning did it say is the opposite of the higher self, which is truth reversed? Do anybody remember?
Yeah, the lower self.
The lower self. And see, so now self in reverse is flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So understand what is being said here for you to comprehend. Self made flesh. Self is the breath made flesh. This is how you made yourself. But first you had to create yourself in mind. But to have a mind, it had to be created. What created the mind? The spirit. The spirit created the mind and the body. And Allah is before the spirit, the mind, and the body. This is why it's so magnificent. The same place that we call the opening is the creator of existence. This is within your heart. It says, where's the closest place to meet Allah? So we're talking about the opening of the heart. Inside the heart is an opening.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you speak to this is how the higher self speak to the greater self.
Right.
See, and your greater self is always listening to you and always giving to the higher self what the higher self is asking.
Yeah.
It's instantaneous, y'all. It's faster than Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
It's faster than 9G, and they ain't even got there yet.
Right on.
We're going to get to this as we break down. We're going to get into the letters. We just got into self and flesh. Easy as that. One self, two self, I self, you self. Easy as this. Easy. So easy a child can remember who just turned 3. Within you is the Lord of the universe. Talk to yourself. Start seeing. Don't you see when you talk to people what happens?
Yeah.
Talk to yourself and see what happens.
That's right.
the higher self is speaking within, called thinking. Behind that higher self is the witness, the greater self, listening. And like, hey, you speak the AI or you type in on a keyboard and you press enter and something pops up, that's the greater self to the higher self. And now your lower self can manifest that which came from within. We're going somewhere with this now. We're learning our new ABCs and our new 1, 2, 3s to end all games. So we're gonna we have self, breath, flesh. 1, 2, 3. Mechanics of living right here. You don't need to go look for food. You don't need to go do anything. What sustains you is breath. If you're going for anything, no, that's called lower self, higher self. See, and the lower self is always cooking up desires. Always sending the body on a mission.
Oh, yeah, boy. They bring it away.
How we know if things are a part of the lower self? It passes away. This is the main ingredient to pay attention to. Anything that passes away is part of the lower self. So if you eat something and it's gone, you just filled up your cup and now you drunk it and it's gone. This is called the lower self. All of the lower self is an illusion. Don't matter how you name it, how you recolor it. This is how you defeat the sorcerer. He can put eternal on a package of a candy bar. You will know, just because it got the word eternal, let's use the water bottle, eternal, on the water bottle, is it eternal? Because this is how the sorcerer played. If you're looking through the human eyes, you want the program, eternal. If you have understanding of self, meaning you comprehend it up, you already know what part of you is eternal.
That's right.
And this is not. The lower self is not. So this is how they've been getting us to play in their charades. Making you believe in make-believe. Make things up for the lower self to believe in. And this is called make-believe. We're going to now slide into the greater self. Now we're going to slide into the greater self. The greater self, check this out, y'all, is the 40th name of Allah. Check this out now.
40 days, 40 nights.
Look at the spirit already. Allah, man, though.
It was tempted. Fighting against self. Right?
Allah knows before man thinks,
Oh,
he
yeah.
already see what he thinking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This is the rewrite.
Yeah.
I'll make it short. This is the rewrite of the 40 days, 40 nights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we look at the lower self, before we go to the greater self, when we look at the lower self, we all should be able to see ourselves in the lower self because of what all it brings, and we know that we are full of desires, and we know how many things that we desire for. It's a list. And each one of those lower in the when they were talking about the lower self, what all it breeds, it's got a lot of characteristics out there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stealing going on. Over there, right there. Look what all that breeds. Look at all these characteristics going on. Hatred. Anybody know what hatred is? Hatred is white supremacy. It says slander, lewdness, murder, not one. Dropping bombs on children and women. There, somebody stole a whole country and renamed it. And everything that harms.
That sums it up, right?
KKK going nigger hunt. We just talking about all the lower characteristics of the desires. I'm glad you put that back up there on the boat because that helped me. All these characteristics. That's a lot going on, y'all. And people live this and they call this in life and living every day. I get it.
And this is what self has to get over.
Yep.
This either going to defeat you or you're going to conquer it.
That's right.
Many people have already lived the lives, and many people have already experienced the lower self.
That's right.
But they can't come and tell you
that they conquered it.
Most people, that's why the prophets exist. That's why angels exist. These people that never fail, their will never fail.
Yeah.
Remember, their mind never bent down to its lower self,
Yeah.
or bent over for the lower self. See, and this is why these characteristics or descriptions like angels are given in personifications like in the Bible. Man should be made higher than the angels. These things is why it's said.
Yeah.
See, because we're not done, because this 3 is what opens up that familiar number that's on the cover of the Moorish Holy Quran called the Circle 7. The Circle 7 is a teaching. It's called the Circle 7 Logos. The Circle 7 Logos was created by the Jews to entrap your mind into 7, leaving out the hidden 3. So there's a lot going on when it comes to the meaning of things.
Yeah. Yep.
And so the meaning of things, this is why breakdowns are in the Circle 7, in chapter 11. So now this is where you get the Elohim from. The Elohim is the 7 spirits. But if you read it from Jewish literature, it's called Elohim, which is not good. It's not good. Anything coming from Jewish classification and naming systems is not good for the Asiatic. That word Elohim is the word Sufa Elohim. Alakim. And let's show you what that means. Wisdom. So if you get the wrong perspective, reading from wrong systems of thought that are non-Asiatic based, you may call it by a non-Asiatic name, like Elohim. And it can throw you way off from its original meaning. So now wisdom is the 7 spirits. So wisdom is what made man. So when it says wisdom speaks out of the highest plane, the highest plane is the spiritual plane. The spiritual plane is the greater self. The greater self is your wisdom. The greater self, the wisdom is what feeds the higher self, the mind. See how you can have a right mind now?
Yeah. All makes sense.
If you understand this, you can never be wrong in your whole life.
That's correct.
Wisdom is error-free.
That's correct.
But church have put an umbrella called religion over this original meanings I'm explaining.
Yeah.
So you call these things the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, maybe.
Yeah.
Or you might just call it the Trinity. But you don't comprehend it. This is comprehension for you to understand what created the Trinity. So now we can understand how the Trinity is 3 as 1. The Triune. So now when we put the final noun, we put the Triune as an adjective in front of the noun, Allah. Now it's separating, showing you the one unity is Allah, and everything comes from Allah. So when it says man is made in the image, this is the image you made of. You made your image right now in flesh is the image of wisdom.
Yeah. Manifest.
Want us to see what I mean, because when we read, let's say the Jewish understanding, and it says the Spirit of God was hovering above the waters. This what it was before Allah said Su Yah. Which is let there be light. (13) The existence of such laws that I'm speaking on are self-evident, meaning no book can tell you and make this real for you. You gotta be in life, be in self, study in self for this to be true. The existence of such laws are self-evident by the existence of the wisdom that frames them. That's what I'm relating to, as that word would have been the Elohim that made everything that is spoken about. As it says, these seven spirits, wisdom, these are they who in their boundless power created everything that is or was. So wisdom created everything that was. This is what they didn't want you to recognize, because if you comprehend, if you created from wisdom, then you must be
of wisdom.
Here we go, of wisdom, which ultimately means that you're wise. Something just ain't clicking. So this is why we need KOS, knowledge of self, or Asalam, or Islam. All these mean the same thing, talking about self-knowledge. Not book knowledge, not preacher knowledge, not congregation knowledge, not group knowledge, not organization knowledge, not institutional knowledge. Self-knowledge.
Self-knowledge.
Self-knowledge. Self-knowledge.
School go teach that.
You know you don't like what you don't like. You know what you're allergic to, not someone else. Self-knowledge. You know what makes you tick. You know what you should and should not be eating, doing, feeling, based on the criteria you comprehend. Called self-knowledge. So the 40 days and the 40 night theme that goes on in spiritual texts was actually talking about the Trinity, the Triune self. And so we're going to peep inside of that 40 day that Jesus was experiencing to get a little diagnosis of, if you haven't started on your journey of conquering the lower self, this will be a little mentation for your nose. And Jesus went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart and note its strength and worthiness.
Yes.
And with himself he taught. Did we catch that?
Yeah.
Allah is you.
That's right.
The greatest part of you, the best part of you. This is what you want to learn to talk with. So it says in 2 that Jesus was going to be alone with Allah. Then in 3 it says, with him being alone with Allah and with himself he taught.
Yeah.
See, this is the Asiatic way. He said, my lower self is strong. By many ties, I am bound down to carnal life. Have I the strength to overcome and give my life a willing sacrifice for men? Now, we know this Jewish text, so we know where it's going with it. But we got to understand what's said in between. When I shall stand before the face of men and they demand a proof of my messiahship. See, not Christ. Messiahship. That goes with Asaya, Asia. The land of Asia, the land of messiahs, the Asiatics. what will I say? And then the tempter came and said, if you be the son of Allah, command these stones to be turned to bread. That's where that familiar theme carries out, if you're familiar with the biblical text. But to save time, we gotta jump down so we get to the meat, and then we gotta get to the simplification. 15. But Jesus said, away from me all tempting thoughts.
Look at that.
Remember, it was 3 rules that was broken of how self lost its self-knowledge. Through cardinal thoughts, cardinal words, and cardinal deeds. The lower self tore itself away from the higher and greater self. See, everyone that's packed in an individual have to be self-aware.
Yeah.
Yourself have selves. So you have to have discernment. This is what's called awareness. And this is what is building right here when we're talking about the 40-day, 40-night self-study. This is how you study yourself. And Jesus said, away from me all tempting thoughts, my heart is fixed. I spurned this lower self with all its vain ambition and pride. And for 40 days did Jesus wrestle with his lower self. His higher self prevailed. He then was hungry, but his friends had found him and they ministered to him. Talking about the spirits, the wisdom. So now we're talking 17. Then Jesus left the wilderness in the consciousness. That's called wisdom right there. Consciousness is not mental. Consciousness is not physical. Consciousness is spiritual. This is how he talked with himself. You have something called a conscious. That conscious is referred to as wisdom, as the faculty of knowing what is good and right. It's the faculty of knowing. It don't do no wrong. This is why I say, do you claim that Allah willingly makes an error? That means you created. Then it says the holy breath. So there's something called consciousness, and there's something that the consciousness need to be aware of, and that's called the holy breath. So consciousness is wisdom, and the wisdom need to be of something. Of the holy breath, what you would call the Holy Spirit. This is where we get to the triune, and we at the top of number 1. Number 1 is this holy breath. Another word for spirit is divine mind. So when you get wisdom, this is what grows from a regular mind, an average Joe mind, to a divine mind.
That's right.
Only wisdom can do that.
That's right.
And that'll take you to your 4th dimension. So that takes you above the 3. Remember, you have above the 3, you have 2. This is what makes the greater self so great. It's called Allah Sufa. This comes before all of this. See, and this is where man is trying to say where he become one with the Creator is by moving from a body, then becoming a mind, then growing from a mind, then growing into a spirit, and then the final stage of the growing into the spirit is the divine mind. That's called Sufa. The opening of the divine mind, the silent mind, the Sufian, the Sufian, the divine mind, the space within the heart, the opening. So everything is unified by wisdom. Everything is unified by Al Hakim, not Elohim. Allah Hakim. That's wisdom. So now correspond that to the 7 days. You have 7 days to get wise. These 7 days are not for you to misinterpret them. It's for to know that the 7 days of wisdom, 6 days of creation, and the 7 days for wisdom. So now, we're going to add some parlance to it that you feel familiar with. The same 1, 2, 3 is expressed in the biblical text as the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, and the kingdom of earth. These are your 3 kingdoms that you yourself have to guard. This is the importance of knowing why the self has a triune. Your triune guards your 3 kingdoms. What they said, God is spirit. So that's your kingdom of spirit. The kingdom of God is the kingdom of the spirit, the greater self. The kingdom of heaven, heaven is not a place to be reached or bounds to be met. It is a state of mind. The kingdom of heaven is mind. Kingdom of earth, as in heaven, so on earth.
That's right.
What's going created in the mind is now on earth, called your flesh. Now you should understand when it say that a new heaven and a new earth shall come down. See the codes? ABC 1, 2, 3. You ain't got to go no further. So once again, that's how the poetic form is on the original form of spirit, mind, and body. This is the poetic form in the text, God, heaven, earth.
I would just like to say, no, let that stay right there. I would just like to say how Christianity has just messed up the people with that right there, because now they are thinking they It got them looking for God to come back riding on a cloud. And then they uses wordplay on it and saying that they want to go to heaven while they're on earth. They want to do the little work, live right, then die and go to heaven. When they don't realize all this already taking place. But somebody done sold them a story and an idea done got into their mind that they got to die and be good and die and go to heaven. This is the kind of philosophy and ideas and concept that people have translated, wrote, and said, and put upon the people. Again.
Yeah, anything want to be understood from any other text like the Bible.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about the natural man, the earthly man, and the spiritual man.
That's right.
The earthly man is the kingdom of earth.
That's right.
The natural man is the kingdom of heaven. The spiritual man is the kingdom of God.
That's right. That's correct.
So anything in those number sequences, this is what else we want to understand and know. The measure of self. When I was able to see that people who can work with building tools, they can complete their mission by knowing numbers. And I noticed tools pull out to be used to learn or how to make exact, precise cuttings, measurements, or number lines. So the same when it comes to the study of self. We need to learn how to measure self according to mathematics. This is how you always can measure yourself on your own number line. Now it's a big significance. I'll take it down. That the measure of self, this is what we need to know and understand. That to simplify all of everything that's been said, you can remember it all in this easy mathematical sequence. If your math right, your mind right.
That's true.
Your mind off, your flesh will be in error.
Yeah.
So in spiritual mathematics, how the Creator would like us to learn, it's called Allah Muhesi. That's our Asiatic tongue. And this is the numbers of self, or the measure of self, I call it. everything that we just said is going to be in this number system for you to measure self. So this is the number line, and it always starts with 0. Unlike how we've been taught that when you start counting, you count with the number 1. Not with Allah Sufa. Allah Sufa don't start on 1. Allah Sufa starts on the number 0. Zero is what gave birth to the number 1. And so this is Allah Sufa. This how you came from the beginning all the way to the people. And now that you're here with the people, the same mathematical scale is how you climb or ascend back to your creator. So like we said, we start at the number 0, unlike school systems that have told us to start with the number 1. Now we know where did 1 come from. 1 came out of nothing, called 0. So after 0, everything that goes after 0 is called 1. Now, this how easy it is. This how simple it is. It's as simple as 0. Sufa is how we would say 0 in our language. So we got to understand 0 is it's magnificent. It's the beginning. It's the first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if nothing else existed in the world and only 0, how many zeros would we have?
Oh, man. Mm-hmm.
Just a little simple little question.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else existed, only 0,
Mm-hmm.
how many zeros exist? See, that's how the number 1 came into be.
Right.
See, this is the biggest mistake that all minds make. They don't count 0.
No.
For some reason, by the time you get out of school, they have programmed you where you don't count 0. So if I say, like, it's 10 people in the room, and then the person talking is counting the people, he gonna count 9. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And forget himself when he is the 10. Yeah. That's like 0 and 1. Mm-hmm. Even though nothing is in between me and you, or in this everything in the space, we don't count it.
No.
when that's the first count. That's the most sacred space. That's called the Holy of Holy of Holies. And if nothing else is there will only be 1 0. And this is how you get 0 and 1. And every number after 0 is nothing but 1 multiplied, y'all, by itself. The next one after 1 is 2. This is 1 multiplied 1 time. If we count the space between me and you, is that 1 or 2?
Yeah. Just looking at space and space. You say is it 1 or 2?
Would it be 1 or 2? Counting.
Yeah, count.
Because you would count space and then count to the object that you reaching.
Yeah.
So space will be 1 and the object you're reaching will be 2. 1 and 1 equals 2. This is how easy the Creator creates. He don't use no complex equation. The equation of life for the Creator is simple as 0 and 1. But remember, he neither 0 or 1. Meaning you are neither 0 or 1. 0 represents your spirit. The 1 represents your mind. The 2 represents your flesh. So as we keep going down, it's the same thing. 1, 2 times is 3. Let me show you how this is so. Just write the number and then write the word of that number right beside it. And we're going to stop at 9. So hence, this is why it takes how many months for you to be born
9.
and made flesh? 9. Did I make this up? No. This is the Creator's order from beginning to end. In sequential divine right order. 9 is nothing but 1 8 times. If we know 8 means infinity, right? Spirit man is a thought of Allah. All thoughts are infinite. So you come out on the 9 month. See, and then now this is the only part where you will have to do your arithmetic. See, you don't have to do no arithmetic if you just understood what I just said. Every number is going to be that number 1 multiplied. Whatever you're trying to get.
Whatever number you're trying to get.
Now here comes how the Creator hid himself in the creation. let's say 0 is the space, right? So that means 0 exists.
Yeah.
9 exists. You come out in 9 months, meaning 9 exists.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning everything is separated out by the Creator. 0 through 9. Yeah. All planes of life is in between the 0 and 9.
Yeah.
So now when we're talking about, let's count how many numbers we got all together. 0, 1, 2,
so that'd be 10.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. And that's how you get 10. Is the Creator complex, y'all? This is what I had to de-illiterate myself from the mathematics they taught. Because it's not as simple as this. This goes with self. This is how self comes into creation, and this is how everything is created from self.
Yep. Come out of the numbers.
It comes out of the numbers. Divinely, naturally. This is called natural order. So now 10 is actually something different than 0 through 9. What makes 10 different than 0 through 9? When we counted them, it was 9.
9 is 10.
But when we hold up all the hands together from counting them, it's 10, meaning unity. And when I write 10, what is 10 in numbers? What numbers comprise 10?
1 and a 0.
Come on with it. See, you wiser than an astronomer. You can go do astronomy or astronomical math right now for NASA. Because they don't know this right here. This is what they missing. They don't understand how the Creator creates. It's a study through studying yourself. At the top, we got 0, 1. And at the bottom, we got 1, 0. Look at this now, what the Creator doing. Divine simplicity.
Yep.
How we all created. And don't let me go into the body and showing you how these numbers manifest. We just did it with the fingers.
Yep. 10 fingers, 10 toes, each one individual.
You show me a number that is an opening. 9 is not an opening. 8 is not an opening. Only 0 is.
Yeah.
So all your openings on your body are zeros. Look how quick and easy this is. So now check this out. Now, if you want to ascend in life, only thing holding you back is numbers. How many cars you got? See, it's all right here. How many TVs you got? How many medicine pills in the cabinet? See, all this right here matter. This is what makes people die. Too much numbers.
Too many numbers. That's right.
You ever did something on the computer, it'll freeze because it's so much information?
Yeah, too much numbers. They call it over data.
Yeah. And that's what they're doing with us now. It's called information consumption. They're making people consume information to kick them out of here.
Yeah, they got it.
They want you to have information overload through consuming information, always being on the phone, always on the TV, everything but study yourself. And so now the Creator repeats that process. This is what's called the unity of life. The lower self and the higher self. is a 10. The divine number for man is 10. Not 7. By the divine creator.
Yeah.
So now this is what we call, when we know this understanding, this is what's called Allah 101.
101.
Or
Man, that was
self 101. These are equivalents of the equations. Like the flower of life or water, like when you throw something in the water and how it make a circle. Well, when self-taught and say the name Allah, it makes this divine unity. Allah, La. This is why this is an equation. ALLAH is divine harmony. That's why it's spelled that way. It's divine harmony, divine harmonics. Where it say God rested on the 7th day. That's the 7 eyes of Allah. So when we read in our sacred Sufa, let's go to the numbers.
verses. 10 plus 1 is 11.
Yeah. That's it.
$101.
11. We are one. That's the 101. We are one, born from a sacred union of two. That 2 is the 10. There go your sacred union. What's 10 can keep making itself because 1 plus 0 equals 1. The 1. This is why it's Allah or self 101. Is in our creation how we prove the creator. From the sacred union of 10 or 2, this is why it's all interchangeable with math. 2 divided by 10 makes 5. 2 times 10 makes 20. 20 divided by 4 limbs is 5. So it's just a sacred geometry going on that is unseen. You can't even see this geometry, but it creates all form and shape that we see. The speaker right there look like a 0. It's taking its form of where it comes from. Our head to our limbs to our toes was born from this sacred union of one. Where spirit joins flesh and life flows. We walking around living, breathing. Because the spirit joined the flesh, not the mind, because the spirit, the greater part, See, so if you want to return to the creator, all you got to do is remember zero.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know anything that we want, it deals with numbers. Anything we don't want deals with numbers. If there's a problem to be fixed, that's a number. If you don't have a problem right now, that's called, I got zero problems.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing real good. The goal is to get from 1 to 0. The creation of existence from nothing. Existence came out of the zero.
I noticed all this paperwork that they want you to do now. For some reason, they call it for the zero. They tell you to say if you're using your month, they say use 02, like you're going in February.
Mm.
They want you to use 02.
Mm.
And then if you're using the date, they want you to use 0.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They just started that now.
Mm-hmm. So they just started that. So that's what's called one-on-one. All of that come from Allah, the one, the first.
That first.
No matter what it is, who it is, or why, you know now for yourself how it came to be. So 0 is considered the spiritual, the pinnacle of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about the tree of life is the manifestation of Allah as the highest wisdom. This is what's also called the tree of life.
Yeah. Tree of life.
So the highest wisdom on the tree of life is called nothing. Nothing is absolute. There is no end nor beginning to potential. So now when we have Allah, the absolute, just like there on the screen. When we see Allah, the one, the absolute, the almighty. The absolute, the almighty, the one is referring to what's above the 0. That which 0 came out of. And that would be the spiritual 0, and then the 10 would be the divine mind. This is when you fully illuminate.
Mm-hmm.
Now nobody comes here knowing the divine mind. But the divine mind is in everyone.
That's right.
But know now, since you see these numbers, these are the levels that many minds are on. See, they stuck from 1 through 9. So 1 through 9, the root of 9 is 3. So I can use 3 times and get 9. Your 33rd degree. Your 33rd degree is not talking about the numbers per se. It's talking about the 3 trinities that I was just explaining earlier with the spirit, the mind, the body, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, and the kingdom of earth, and the divine law, the natural law, and eternal law. This is what 333. 3 times the 3 trinities. These are unseen. And so 3 is how you get everything down here. It's the culmination of everything down here at its simplest form. That's why it takes 9 months. All we do is dealing with creation is numerals, mathematics. See, so with this simple math right here, this is how they was able to build high advanced level geometry. This right here tells you everything you need to know about what's in space, what they call atoms, anything. It comes from this mixture of mixing numbers. And so all numbers can be simplified to one of these single numbers. And that's everything separated out, 1 through 9. 10 is everything back whole, seen from the divine mind. And that's how you get back to self or Allah through your divine mind. That's what's called the tree of life. That's what you're supposed to eat from. You're supposed to eat from the 10 plus 1. Divine mind plus self or Allah. For Allah and self are one. This is above spirit, mind, and body right here. Where you go to sleep at is called the divine mind. But it's like a coin. It faces the direction of the flesh. that dark place you sleep at, it's two directional. If you was to revolve that, let's say if you was to flip over, you will get to the eternal existence. That dark space you sleep in is the hole, it is the opening from you getting to eternal life and coming back to this side. So that dark space is pure spirit. This is why it says there's nothing predetermined in the universe. See right here, 15. Verily, nothing is predetermined within the universe. So that means you don't got no bills if you don't want no bills. Ain't nothing predetermined. It ain't guaranteed you're going to pay that bill like you've been paying for 40 years. You could stop it today. But see, they told you everything is predetermined. But if you understand 101, you will know for yourself nothing is predetermined. If everything starts with 0, how can it be? It's not fixed.
When we look at that predetermined, we look at this society, and that's all we see. Predetermined from kindergarten, predetermined from elementary to middle school, predetermined from middle school to high school, predetermined from high school to college. And then they'll ask you what you want to be. And then they'll set you on that trail, that predetermined trail. And then when you get your and they got so many years you can go to be ever what you going to want to be. You know, doctors I think were 8 years and lawyers what about 8.
There you go, keep going 8 to 12.
8 to 12, yeah, from 8 to 12 and some programs you don't need for 6 months or a year.
Like with trades.
Yeah, with trade because I went for six months. That's how I know.
It gets you a good occupational trade.
But be as it may, I'm yielding it, bro. But it's everything. We live in a predetermined world. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
You know, they got so many degrees.
Society. That's what they live off. This right. Sorcery.
That's right. From Monday, the sun is already predetermined. What all you gonna do in the program?
Right. They want you to think of 7 through Monday through Sunday.
Through Sunday. That's right.
Which is their calendar.
Their calendar.
So you only fulfilling their
and their fruition.
Yep, their fruition. You losing your free will.
You losing all that. You giving it up for that.
Right. See, Allah is free will.
Remember what it said in the Sufa, we give it the ability to think.
To think.
Reason.
To reason.
Choose.
And to choose.
That's what you chose to do, your last one.
Right.
Because this is what you done thought of. This your reason and this your move. I get that.
We got a free will. Your will is free.
Yeah. Not obligated to know 8-hour job.
If you know Sufa
that's a long time. 8 hours, y'all, is a hold your fingers up
for Sufa Allah.
Working for somebody. Good goodness. No wonder you're tired when you get up.
Yeah, so people also say there's no free will. See, all this thing come down when you don't understand the comprehension of self.
Free
It can become a very horrible lie. This is why they didn't want you to know about one Islam. That's why they made sure they intercepted your beliefs about yourself. If we would have already knew this, if we were just given what Islam means right out the gate.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with rakats, salats,
Yeah.
shahadas. It had nothing to do with that. Islam was designed for one reason only, to reach Allah, which is self-knowledge. We was given all type of other hand-me-downs, from the Quran of Mecca to the Bible of Babel, and getting these books given to us as something to worship.
Yeah.
When they was coded with religious spells.
Yeah.
To hijack our beliefs and start believing and giving life to their system. It's one thing that we know that the European ain't responsible for, and that's teaching us Islam. He has no hand to play in Islam when it comes to teaching the Asiatic man. So it's hands off when it comes to Islam of the Asiatics.
Teach you everything else.
Teach you everything else.
Yeah, this thing
It speaks for itself. And the power that you see other people have, that's separate from the pale man. The white man, the same one, the white man over there playing the Arab.
Yeah.
You see, he got power. He's powerless and don't have his own. Let's just say Dubai and all that stuff in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
That's separate from the Britain of England. They got their own power.
Yeah.
And it ain't Christianity. So they was able to make a falsehood a ruling power when Islam was the power, is the truth, was the way for Asiatics to receive self-knowledge. And now we should know what self-restraint would be for, now that we've been dealing with these other nations. You got nothing out of it. Got no Islam. Got nothing but corruption and deceit.
Right on. That's all.
So if we knew that Islam represents self-knowledge, we would never, ever be needing a book.
That's right.
Islam means without a book.
That's right. The walk in truth.
To walk in truth. And that's what it was meant to be called a Musallam. The walk in truth. The living truth. The son of Allah. So as we close, keep that in mind. And we got to raise our minds to infinite wisdom. Allah Sufa is what we got to raise that thing to. Sufa Allah. So in love and wisdom, As-salam, As-salam, As-salam. Latif al Sufian Mu'i. Allah Sufa.